got the link. I'm going to give this to you to turn into yours.
Chow and everything else, but that's why he's not here. Just travel around, I guess. I don't know. I don't have any other advice for you.
Thank you, Lord, for giving us this time to come together as we work on the issues that confront our town. Give us some clarity, clarity, wisdom, and insight as we do your will. Protect all those first responders who continue to watch over us and protect us on a daily basis in Christ's name.
Please stand and join me in the pledge of the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you for joining us here tonight. As you can see, we have some council members and our mayor absent. Our mayor is stuck in a plane somewhere between here and D.C. Ms. Wessner, or the mayor pro tem, is home ill, and our other council member, Mr. O'Neill, is taking care of some ill parents. So thank you for joining us tonight. We do have a forum, and we're anxious to get started on the agenda.
represent the city and provide legal counsel to the city council and staff. According to the state bar of Texas, City Attorney Michael Hollis' practice does not include real estate law, and his legal advice to the council regarding the Trilogy development has demonstrated that he is not competent to guide and counsel the city on matters related to development agreements like this. Number 9, can citizens be assured that the city council will not take direction from the developer's legal counsel? And finally, what are the tangible benefits and drawbacks to McLendon-Chisholm for making this development part of its ETG and for not making this development part of its, ETJ, and for not making this development part of its ETJ? I sincerely hope that you will have those questions answered before moving forward with this development agreement. Thank you so much.
They're not in because the secretary didn't get them in on time. That's okay. There's no requirement for them to be done by the next meeting. So they're done by the next meeting.
Oh, okay. So, I'll just try to be prepared for the meeting without those. It has to do with the big development. Regarding that, I agree with others in the previous couple of meetings. You said we need an open forum because there are just so many questions on these developments that, as you can see, people have, and we're getting no answers. There's no feedback. There's nothing like that. So an open forum would be great. If I had to rent a larger space, I'm sure you would need that. And I agree with everything Simon said regarding questions. I had a list. I was curious about how we got past the spot where citizens' wishes in the comprehensive plan 2021 have been kind of railroaded by the path of unrestrained high density development. Simon mentioned something about the density. I looked on the same websites and saw, wow, this is pretty small. We'll have some big green space and then packed houses, at least in like crossroads like that. Also, I'm curious though, are there Texas laws that have had the effect to thwart the will of citizens of McLendon-Chisholm? We have to follow the law, but it also helps to explain things if there are such things causing some forced conflict with our comprehensive plan. It'd be great to know those. I was also curious about ETJ as well. I'm not clear on what the city is responsible for in the ETJ. It looks like everything's in this agreement. I don't know if there are things by law that we're responsible for, but the agreement made it pretty clear. It was interesting how the protection services were treated, fire, emergency, and police. I took police to mean sheriffs or whoever. And the agreement refers to people in the new development will be treated with the same level of support by the protective services as the city limits. That's good, but that can be taken probably multiple ways, but I suspect it's taken the number of people in the city limits versus the number of people in the new area. Just looking at buildings, commercial and real estate buildings, maybe we have 1,500. That's just a broad estimate, but about 1,500. And then, as mentioned, there's up to 3,100 homes, maybe say 3,000. Well, that's a 200% increase in services for us. So, how does that work? And then, my last question I have, which I don't answer, is what is the limited purpose annexation of property thing? I haven't seen that limited purpose. Like we could tax on some things and not other things. Anyway, that's it.
Thank you. John Taus.
made at home. I'm not employed by the city of McLendon-Chisholm, so I'm a little confused as to what is scheduled, what's so important that he could be doing and other council members might be doing when we have such an important issue going on right now in our city limits. This city was supposed to be about high quality infrastructure and low density. So I'd like to know when we got sidetracked, who is responsible, and those that are accountable need to come forth that are taking away what we moved into this city and what we thought we elected you to do. So we need answers, and clearly I don't believe that there's anything that can support making a decision tonight on any development without a full council member being, a staff being present, including the mayor, nor so many issues as Bob's already presented that we don't have answers for. This is not representing the citizens.
Sir, we're not going to make decisions tonight. I can rest assured it's the first reading. I'll go into it more when our topic comes up, but this is the first time this is being presented to council. Rest assured we are not making decisions tonight, and we have as many questions as you do.
Well, good. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. I will maintain some of my list for Mr. Short next time, but I think that these are, as already presented from the past and then tonight, if we're going to consider mud issues, additional taxation with the citizens should have the right and should know exactly what is including it. We don't have adequate water, and if you were in the meeting last week, we don't have water that can even be drawn into the city for 3 to 5 years to support the existing houses, let alone adding up to 5,000 more. I don't even know how we're even considering this.
Sir, what subdivision do you live in again? I'm sorry, I didn't catch it.
Wellington Manor.
Oh, so that is not in the city. You are
It's
not
in the county, Rockwall County. Tapestry is being recommended across the street, and Trilogy on the other side of us.
Yes.
So I hope you didn't mean to discredit me or disrespect.
Oh, no, I wasn't familiar with that street number, and I wanted to clarify.
Okay, great. All right, well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Where did you go?
Where did Joe? 256 Stevens Road, Rockwall, Texas. You read the rules to us at the beginning about civility, and yet I want to once again note that the worst displays of uncivility have come from the city council members towards the citizens. And Lorna, you have shown that again tonight. At the beginning, you mentioned not interrupting, yet you interrupt at will, as I have watched multiple members of the city council and the mayor do. You emphasize civility, yet the only people I've watched get yelled at during these meetings and get yelled at by other people is your mayor and another city council member yelling at me and Bob 2 meetings ago. Plenty of people were here to watch that. I urge you to stop reading the rules to us at the beginning of every meeting when you yourself sit in the chair facing us and do not keep them. You represent us, and you seem to have forgotten that. I also want to emphasize your blatant disrespect for anybody who lives in the McLendon-Chisholm ETJ, which, by the way, Trilogy is about to be annexed into your city, yet they were in the ETJ. You act like we are not part of your city. Yet I live closer to that development than you do in Chisholm Crossing. Do not treat us like we do not have a right to stand here and speak to you about the issues that affect our home more than they affect yours. I am closer to that development than you are. It is your job to sit and listen to me. It It is not my job to be bullied by you. Now to what I actually wanted to talk about. Last week, the water district was talked about. We heard from Blackland how you guys ran out of water years ago. How it would take 3 to 5 years to get the water where it needs to be. And I watched Misty Ventura sit there and listen to all of it. So it's not like Uplands doesn't know where we're at with the water here. On top of that, I found out today that the North Texas Water District is telling its member cities that capacity is limited. And for you guys to become a direct member, which they mentioned at the last meeting, would require all of the current member cities voting for you to become a direct customer. I highly doubt they're going to do that with capacity being limited. All of this is to show the water situation is nowhere near to being fixed. One thing I wanted to talk about today that was a bright spot in all of this is that I found out today that Mayor Short has signed a resolution that opposes developers' special districts. And he signed it this week with all of the other mayors in the county of Rockwall. I have a document that you can see with his signature and the signatures of the mayor of the city of Rockwall, the mayor of the city of Fate, the mayor of the city of Mobile, the mayor of the city of Royce City, the mayor of the city of Heath, and the mayor of the city of Rowlett. In this resolution, it talks about developments that overload existing infrastructure and diminish the quality of life and increase the financial burden for all citizens in Rockwall County, and how the undersigned elected officials do oppose the formation by a developer of any and all special districts in Rockwall County. The development that is on the agenda tonight wants another special district. For all of you that don't know, that is called a MUD. I am so proud of Mayor Short for signing this. And I hope that you as a city council will rally behind him to do what should have been done in the first place, which is get a new attorney who will defend your citizens in our city from these developments that are bringing in combined total 5,000 people between Tapestry and Trilogy, which will double the population of McLendon-Chisholm that is currently at 4,100. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for speaking. As I said earlier, we'll address the item 7.2 in a moment, and we look forward to. We're thankful that you gave us those comments; they're very helpful, and I'm sure you'll see that you have the same sort of questions for the developer when they get up here. So thank you. We're going to move on to the consent agenda, item number 6. Does either council member want to withdraw any of the items from the discussion? If not, I'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda, items 6.1 to 6.7.
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
All right. All those in favor of the consent agenda, say aye. Aye. That passes 3-0. Items for discussion and action. Item 7.1, review and acceptance of the FY22 audited financial statement. We do have the audit in, and do we have a presentation?
Yes, Mayor. Excuse me, Mayor. Or, yes, not Mayor. Mayor Pro Tem.
Not even
members,
that.
okay,
Not even that.
Members of the council, it's a pleasure to talk to you tonight. We have Kyle from principal in Murray, Paschal, and Pepperton, our independent auditors here today. I'd like to start recognizing them for their hard work. They've as you know, we had a little bit of a harder struggle last year. They worked extremely hard during Q1, and then kicked it off with the city in early January for the city's portion of this, and have worked hard the last couple of months to get this out to you. We have Kyle here to go through it, and what we need at the end is
strive to work on making sure that we get things in a more timely fashion and having Conrad on board, and of course, Ray Smith, the ordinance mental health, and making sure that we met that goal this year. I won't kind of go through, it seems like every time we get one of these reports, it feels bigger and bigger. So I won't bore you with a lot of the detail, we'll just kind of go through it from a highlight level. If you guys have the reports in front of you, the first piece is the independent auditor report. This has actually changed a little bit over the past year, but basically at the end of the day, it puts our opinion in the first paragraph. It says that there is no material differences in anything that we had in your guys' audit. Kind of goes through our basis for the opinion, your responsibilities and our responsibilities, and then any required supplemental information that we disclose. So the next little piece I think is one of the more beneficial aspects of the city financial statement, which is basically the management discussion analysis. This really is a highlight of the fiscal year of what took place in the city, and kind of goes through and highlights each of those areas of where there's growth. And then it talks about two different types of financial statements. There's a little bit trickier with government financial. If you have a government financial, you've got a and then you got a fund financial statement. So this kind of goes in and discusses about the differences and how they are implemented. And also highlights some areas on where they actually can be found. Really, there's nothing new that I'm not going to disclose to you guys. This is about a 5-month-old report. You guys have current financials and discussions with that. If there's any questions, comments, concerns, I know we've gone over with Conrad, gone over with Ray, and addressed any questions that was brought up on that regard. If there's anything specific that you guys want to talk about, by all means.
I have one point of correction for you, and it's really minor. It's on page 38, and under infrastructure, it says we have 4 city streets that we maintain. Just delete that because we have more than that now. But I do believe Councilmember Tucker did have a couple of questions that he wanted to ask you.
Okay.
Actually, just numbers I wanted to verify. When I was looking at page 5, the city's general fund employee total ending fund balance of $3,690,795. Is that the unreserved fund? Is that the fund basically what we have in reserve in terms of cash?
The general fund it not necessarily represents cash, but yes, that is the unrestricted money, that 3.69 in theory.
And does that break down to, I think it breaks down to individual funds, am I correct? I think there's a capital investment fund, or there's another couple others. What I'm getting at is this unrestricted in terms of if we have a desire to utilize it to pay for a large capital investment? Could we utilize, I mean, this is a hypothetical, it's extreme, could we utilize all of that money for that particular investment?
Correct.
We could, okay, that clarifies it. I was looking at earlier was fungibility of monies that may have been dedicated to individual funds. So that answers my question.
So were there any glaring errors that we need to fix as far as our business practices concerns our finances?
No glaring errors. It's just a lot of it is making sure that what you guys go over as far as assets that are transferred over to the bid. It's just communication, like anything. It's always a relationship.
Mr. Smith, do you have anything to add to the discussion at all?
You didn't hear me say that.
Councilmember Tippett, I failed to recognize our finance director back there. I did not see him. He snuck in late. I didn't see him. He has been tremendous in helping and putting this together, as I'm sure he has been all the years that he's been here. Very top-notch, a great partner in this overall financial world. And any of you that have some questions about the specific finances and the numbers, please come and talk to me about that and see if you have questions on what this means and what that means. I'm pretty sure I can answer, and if not, we got these two gentlemen right here that are at our quick call to get that. We'll get you those questions answered right away.
Any other questions?
I have one more question, and that was on the same page, on page 5, third paragraph down. They're talking about last year's ending fund balance was $2,029,516, and they're going to increase approximately $1.6 million during this current year. Was there a specific reason as to such a large increase in that period of time, and what can you allude to why that occurred, or probably building, but
Yeah, I mean, it's, there's some other information towards the back that really kind of shows the budget's actual in comparison, and we can see the growth in not only revenue, but assets that come over. You look at
maybe it's in part of inflation.
there's been a spike in sales tax.
Well, we had a lot of additional permits. We got a lot more permanent income last year than we had anticipated. I think that had to do a lot to do with that.
This really isn't informative for it's just a lot to go through. But that's really the area is towards that back where it does that budget to actual. There's some notes in there. There's some notes on the financial side of it that we speak to.
It's in here, I'll find it. I'll write it later. I say it's in here, I'll find it later.
Yeah.
If there's no further questions, I'll accept a motion to approve the audit.
Make a motion to approve the audit. Right. Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes 3-0. Okay, item 7.2. First reading, Talisman LLC Development Agreement. I think I've beat a dead horse on this, but this is the first time that council has been presented with the plan that Talis has put forward. This is the opportunity for council to listen to what they are suggesting, and then we will obviously have some questions for them. And then we'll have a second reading at another time. I will speak to the mayor offline after when he gets back and suggest that we have another formal discussion with Trellis before we go. Tell us before we go into that second reading and make any decisions on the development agreement. This takes more than just 1 or 2 meetings, especially when the first meeting that is has limited attendance by the council members. So we're here to listen tonight, and then I do have some comments that I'd like to make as well, and I'm sure that the other council members do too. So without further ado, we'll turn the floor over to the Talis Command Group.
Thank you. Good evening, council members. I said mayor, we're listening to you. I appreciate that. My name is David Long, partner and president of Talis Group 130 North Preston, Suite 130, Roswell, Texas. Appreciate the opportunity to speak to you tonight about our upcoming master plan community. The reasons I will present, I think the development agreement is considered a win-win I'll be brief. I'm going to hit the points that I believe are important to the city. With me here tonight, Andre Ferrari, Justin Craig, Vice President of Acquisitions and Planning for us, and we're happy to answer any questions in the time. Relative to what's important to the city, I do have a personal appreciation for the history out here. My wife Julie and I raised our kids in Rockwall for 19 years. We watched Fulton Elementary get built, we watched Rockwall High School get built. We raised our kids down here. It's one of the reasons we moved down here, to be in Rockwall School. So I appreciate that. Our children did start to finish here. Lived in Chandler's Landing. We also had a 1.5-acre lot in 549. So we have friends that live in Crestwood Meadows and Stone Lake. So I really do appreciate what people move out here for in the larger lots. I think, that there's room for what we're presenting tonight. I'll show you why. Also took an active role in the scout troop that moved from Rockwall to Heath about 10 or 15 years ago. So it's very much part of the culture. And they're serving the Rockwall Child Protective Services Board as president for a few years, etc. So I get that part. We're not ignoring that part. Big picture, we recognize the perspective and the prioritization of open space and low density and quality of life out here. We're not ignoring that in what we're presenting. Challenge group was comprised of 11 people who have extensive experience in development. My partner Craig and I have ownership of Winsong Ranch in Prosper. We're proud of what we have created there and what it's become. We're very hands-on. We're very passionate about what we do, which is master plan communities, where families can raise their kids, enjoy social activities, and enjoy multiple generations. We have a lot of examples where there's 2 or 3 generations that live in Winsong. And I use Winsong because it's the most recent example, and it's very tangible. It's something we've actually done, not waving our arms, saying, look what we might do. We've proven ourselves in that respect. And the passion is supposed to create something. Maynard Lake Park, 2,000 acres. I started working on it in 2007. For me to drive through there now and see, and you'll see these photos of some of the things that we've done with it, families raising their kids there, watching dads ride their bikes after their kids into the elementary school that's on the site. That is the satisfying part of this business. It has so many difficult aspects to it. School, lifestyle, social events, and open space are only a few of the keys to having a successful master plan community, but they're very important. In January, we had the pleasure of hosting Mr. Hildebrandt and a couple of council members on the tour of Winsong Ranch. We had actually extended an open invitation and actually had a van with 40 seats reserved, because I'm sure how many we were going to have. We ended up with a couple of council members and with Mr. Hildebrandt, which is great. Came out to see, back in January, came out to see Winsong in person, and to listen to the story of how Winsong came about, what it is today, and about the principles which guided us in 2012, when we actually finalized the plan for Winsong through today. So here's some illustrations of the key measures as of Winsong today. It's 2,100 acres, we have 600 acres of open space. Lot size ranges from a half-acre lots to townhomes. We have many families in Winsong that are on their 3rd house, even more that are on their 2nd, where they've moved up as the family's grown, or they've moved down as the kids have moved out. Grandparents have moved in. It's a big trend across the country. Grandparents being close to the grandkids. Prices range from 2022 from $500,000 to 2.8. We have a long list of awards we think, we'd like to think. I think it's fact that we're the most award-winning community in North Texas. I'll show you that list later. We developed a very strong partnership with Town of Prosper. It happened to be right at the size you are when I started working on Winsong in 2007. Prosper ISD, Prosper Police and Fire Rescue, all of those we have a partner with in some form of fashion. Highly encourage and welcome anybody reaching out to any of those agencies of the Town of Prosper to ask about their experience with Telescope. Principals at Palace have managed to develop the project from the first shovel, which was March of 2013, until we sold the last lots. We signed that contract last week. This was, or is, a video that's only 30 seconds long, but I don't think we're going to attempt to play it today, the way the computer's acting. Okay. Oh, nice. So some further illustrations of what that open space looks like in relationship to the homes in these pictures here. That's actually a townhome on the other right-hand corner. Greenbelt, main amenity in the bottom left. Lakes. Main amenity center from a different perspective. Community garden in the upper right, which has been very, very popular with our residents. They're actually expanding that. And then in the lower right, there's actually a 50-foot Atlas gas line easement that we converted into an Esplanade and Greenbelt that we use to host events, and especially the two annual events we have, the Wine and Music Festival in October, and then a lifestyle health themed activity in April. This is an example of some of the homes that are in Winsong. This isn't marketing pictures. These are homes that are standing in Winsong. We have strict architectural guidelines and design covenants that are created by Winstead at Boston. They're probably one, if not the best, one of the best law firms in terms of HOA law and property covenants, and that helps protect the quality of what you develop over the long term. At some point, the developer's out, and the residents take over the HOA and control it. You don't know what it's established. You run the risk of it going down. This is way too small to read. We have over 40 awards, local, regional, and national, for Winsong Ranch. Important one, I think, is up in the upper right. We have the National Association of Home Builders. So on a national scale, we've been awarded 5 different times awards for being in the top 6 communities in the nation. And that includes Best Master Plan Community as well as Lifestyle. We are in the process of taking the necessary steps to take the same principles and success into your ETJ on the former Man Ranch, which is 1,100-acre tract located on FM 548 at the far, what we call southern end of McLendon's ETJ. We are in the process of documenting necessary utilities and agreements that would lead us deeper into the land planning stage and delivery of our first phases in late 2024. Ms. Mann remains involved with us as a partner. The district that we are operating under was created, formed legislatively in 2009, well before we made the various things. So it exists. It was formed in 2009. And we'll be using that along with the vested rights we currently have in the property to provide a community that is every bit quality and success of Winsong Ranch. This is a closer up view. It shows you the relationship to 548. As you can see from this slide, there's significant open space, which is the green color on this area. That's over 360 acres. There are 2 large lakes on the property as well as a couple of smaller ones. Very attractive. It's got a lot of land characteristics that we have in Winsong. A little bit gentler topography, but major water features, adjacency to some major tree masses, all of which currently sit behind fences, which are unable to be enjoyed by anyone. These are assets that we can use as we create open space, hike and bike trails. Those will be available and open to the public, not just So overview, location is right on FM 548. I want to make this point about text dot. You can see at the top of the screen here. It might be better to look here. 548 between Highway 80 and 205 is in the process of being lined in 4 lanes. In some locations 6. I believe Mr. Tucker has some postings on this, and he seems to be pretty close track of text dot, which is challenging at times. With the direct connection of 548 to 205 to the north and Highway 80 to the south, the impact on anything to the north, especially those that live 3, 4, 6 miles away, is going to be very small. I won't say it will be anything, but it's going to be very small. We're oriented to a text dot road that is 70% design, and they've already started making fences on the main ranch property. They're already doing fences and preparing to start work. I'm not going to say they're going to be fast. I've heard the phrase, there's human years, dog years, and then text dot years.
Right.
So, I mean, they do what they can, but the point is to be that stage of design and to be moving fences, and the right of way along the main frontage has been provided, so there's nothing standing in the way of what's happening there. I just want to go over some highlights. Some of these have already said. Open space uncovered. That would include over 10 miles of hike and bike trails. We're not even close to having a final finished plan. We know at least 10. That's a conservative number. At Winsong, we've got 30. It'll be at least 10. Elementary school. This is really important for everybody, I think, to understand. Over 90% of our land, or to say it differently, less than 10% of our land is in Rockwall. Over 90% is in Forney ISD. We've already had meetings with Dr. Cherry at Forney ISD. We committed to him to providing an elementary school site at no cost. We'll continue those discussions as we get further down the road. We think that's important to be with the community, and that so that the burden on the school district, whether it's Forney or Rockwall, is limited, and we actually contribute towards having that in place. On-site emergency services, it's our understanding that at some point the city is going to want to start to not depend on other agencies. Through the development agreement, we are providing a vehicle by which we can help bootstrap emergency services without spending a lot of money. But this is certainly a significant contribution towards that. It would include the 2-acre site in our community at no cost for emergency services. The city is currently working, I'll let Mr. Hildebrecht address this further, but the city is working with Terrell on an MOU and understanding of how to get part of the water solution solved. There's several moving parts to that equation. But the bottom line is we are going to be funding a very large portion of a project that I'll describe in a second that will help solve the water problem on an accelerated basis. 548, I've already mentioned, is being expanded. I also mentioned the deed restrictions, which CCRs is what they're typically called. Benefits to the city. We have filed with PUC several months ago to decertify our CCN out of High Point and have offered that to the city in the development agreement draft that's being considered. I'll let your consultants tell you more. It's our understanding that that is a very important piece of getting accelerated action on the part of North Texas and on entering into any other agreements for water supply. We have agreed to provide $15 million of a $44 million water project that will be coming from Terrell northward. That would provide water to our community, with Terrell being, and this is not agreed to now, I want to be clear about that. I'm describing what our understanding is. But we would be contributing that money, no cost to the city, to bring that trunk line up. That's not pure charity. We need water. There are a couple of ways we can do it. This is the best long-term solution, and it also helps to get McLendon over the hump in terms of getting CCN and getting a big project paid for by others that could bode well for the future and perhaps the near future. Our entity, the district, would be the one that ends up going through eminent domain to acquire right of way necessary for that line, which will happen faster than the public agency can do it. The development agreement provides a retail water surcharge to be paid by us, assuming that the city is a retail provider and the city is acquiring it on a wholesale basis from the city of Carroll. So Carroll provides the water, that's where the water comes from. We've met several times with the city of Carroll, hopefully that's where they're at. There's a solution where a lot of parties can win and solve a lot of problems and accomplish a lot of things that are mutually beneficial with the city coming out of pocket, either very little or nothing. And then that last point to what I just said, the development agreement also provides a long-term path for the city in the future. When I say future, 15, 20 years down the road, that infrastructure is in the ground. The city has the option of this agreement to actually take that over at no cost and operate. You wouldn't want to assume that debt that goes with it, so you have to wait for that to be paid off. But that's huge. No capital outlay. Emergency services, we think that it's a good thing to provide a foundation for establishing a police department. We're not trying to presume what the city should or shouldn't do. This is just our understanding based on meetings that have taken place and what the future brings. TELUS would contribute approximately $700,000 towards city emergency services. That's, for lack of better terms, sort of capital fees. As lots are completed, we would be paying fees. As lots are completed, they would total about $700,000. And that's based on about 2,700 lots. I don't see us reaching 31. That's for water study purposes and for press release purposes. We're going to end up somewhere between 25, 26, 27 probably when all said and done, which would be the right way. At full build out, the city would be able to collect for $800,000 a year annually, recurring annual revenue. This is a full build out, which is 10 to 12 years down the road, based on fees that the residents would pay directly to the city for emergency service support. To put that in context, I believe in 2022 the entire ad valorem tax revenue for the city was about $800,000. Parks and trails, I would reiterate that to be part of the community and in view of what's said in the comprehensive plan, it is a call for open space. Happy to start providing what might be the first big part of that and allow the public to enjoy it at our cost. Additional city tax revenue in the ETJ, sales tax city, doesn't apply under sort of normal rules. What we're saying is, hey, we're in your ETJ, we'll stay in your ETJ. We'll enter a creative agreement, which is an exhibit to what you're considering, where out of the 2 cents that's collected by the city, 1.5 of that goes to the city, 1.5 cents, 3/4 of it goes to the city. I understand correctly, a portion of that goes to support that more tax. Current. Right. So currently that's correct. Currently, and that may change, but the point is there's found money that would be generated by commercial development, sales tax, or retail or commercial, or from builders, depending on where they source their materials. The actual home building process, the construction process, the development process could provide some revenue there. I'm not going to try to tell you what that number is, but we're still researching that. But the opportunity is there, and that's something that we're willing to put into place. The comprehensive plan on page 11 is pretty informative. Page 11, if you read it, it basically sort of holds up its hands and say, hey, in the ETJ, laws were recently passed, the city has less control, the districts have more control, and in many regards that's true. This paragraph basically, makes the point that residents can be in the ETJ, enjoy all the city's amenities and public infrastructure, not have to pay for any of it. Well, all the things I've just enumerated here this evening to you come forward and provide the city with tangible benefits. It's not like, look at us, we're wonderful, don't you want us here? It's like there's some real tangible things in here that have monetary, long-term, recurring value, and it's the right thing to do. The benefit to us is we get to deal with one municipality on processing the plaques. We have committed in the agreement to road standards and other things that we don't have to commit to, but they meet or exceed your current ordinance in terms of development standards. I don't know what else to add to that. We're trying to do this the right way. We're coming forward, listening, seeing where we're landing, trying to not be a burden to the city and provide something that's every bit the quality of what you see in the Sun Ranch, or in some cases saw in person in the Sun Ranch. So I very much appreciate the opportunity to speak to you this evening. Not sure what forum we're going to run. We're happy to answer any questions or anything you want to ask them. I can be seated, I can stand here. You guys tell me what you need to do.
No, I know the council may have some questions. I would just like to add that I appreciated when we took our field trip to their currently built Windsong Ranch in Prosper. One of the items that they asked us to do is go knock on the door and ask any resident that lives here how they like living here. And you could tell that people love living there. And all that, how they build it, open space, the walking trails. It didn't seem as dense as you'd think with the numbers thrown out there because it had that open space all around. Another thing, just another added fiscal benefit to the city is the development agreement, albeit in not approved status, draft status. But it also includes having all the solid waste into the city. So and the city would provide the solid waste through our contractual citywide service, which would bring additional revenue to us as well. So there's little bits and pieces that you add them all up. There's a substantial amount of benefit, qualitative as well as quantitative, that will come to the city through evaluating this. And I 100% think that you should ask your questions and beat these guys up. I mean, be tough on them. I think they're strong and big and they can take the questions. But I think that's prudent for the city to do is that in the negotiation and evaluation process.
Well, I do appreciate the fact that we did get the tour of Windsong Ranch in December. I, however, can't really support the document as it is written right now because I feel that there are too many things that need to be fixed or discussed. And I'll just go broad brush over my opinion. It seems to me that you want to pay and use city services without being part of our city. I understand, and the public safety, the water, etc. And I think at the beginning that's going to be a drain on our resources. Second thing that I think we need to discuss is the district land expansion without the city agreement. I don't believe that that's acceptable either. I can see the district then acquiring land that is around it, and then we have no say in what's going on. And I don't think that's right. And then what I think that everyone tonight has said, and I'll reiterate, is there's too many undefinables in the developer's agreement as it is right now. We have exhibits that are missing. The water, we can't provide water at this time. The wastewater, there's been no mention of how sewer will be taken care of. I understand that there was a district formed in 2007 that had a wastewater treatment facility public safety. Fire, that will be a drain on our resources at the very beginning. It will cause us to build a fire station. And if the way the development agreement is written now is that we have 3 years to do that once all the infrastructure is laid out. And I'm not sure that we can do that. Secondly, the police. We don't have a police department. We rely on the Rockwell County Sheriff. How will that work? And finally, EMS. We don't own EMS. That again is provided for through the county. So there's too many questions in depth that I have that I would like to go through this with more detail. And I don't know if that has been done within city staff, but there are some things that I am not comfortable with and I will not support it at this time. So that's just my thoughts.
May I address it?
Yes,
May I address a couple of those?
yes.
The ability in the agreement, the way it's drafted to manage more land in the district, the way it's worded is very specific. It's a defined term that defines non-district land. And it's simply what we own, which is part of what used to be this man's property. So what I'm going to call the rough edges and the corners, that's all we're talking about. It's like per homestead, there's a small rectangular piece that's, I think, 44 acres. It's not just carte blanche, go take what you can, but only what we currently own that for whatever reason is not in.
It's not permanent.
Correct.
Well, that explains that, because the way that I read it is that surrounding land, if a homeowner or a landowner said, I want to be part of this development now, you could do that and you would have no say.
No, we can't. It's a defined term in the agreement, non-district land. If you look at that, we're limited to just what's in the boundaries of what we're
Currently, okay.
Wastewater permit is in place. Our intention there is to do package plant as an interim to get into a full-time permanent treatment plant, which I understand is not $50 million. So we have to get there in steps. Water, I mean, we're not, we understand there's a huge water problem in the area. We're actually coming forward with a solution, and we understand that we can't do anything without having something directed about it.
Yeah.
We turn around to High Point today and serve the first 1,200 lots. Okay, great. I mean, Mr. Treasurer was here last week. I was here and listened to the report. We understand all the aspects of it. Maybe that we can think. We're not presuming that we can drop and just start turning taps on. We're actually granting the expenditures, the infrastructure, the design, and acquisition right away to help that water infrastructure. Certainly helps us, but it also provides an avenue for the city in the future. Timing, I think, is really important to talk about because the first lot where everything goes basically well is going to be late in 2024. Your first homeowner's not in until summer of 2025. There's a lot of things that happen during that period of time, and that probably need to happen now that the city is considering some things. So we're not presuming to tell the city what it should or shouldn't do. We are acting on things that we read and we've read about and knowing what's coming down in 2005. So as I wrote down things as you were speaking, those are the things that I think I can address that we're capable of addressing. Somebody else, Councilman Tucker has some questions, but I don't know if Mr. Wilson wanted
to add. We've all participated in some degree or another in the development of the draft agreement from our city attorney to our buyer to our city planner and engineer and short. So and it's not meant to be a final document, but definitely closer than. And I know throughout the whole process, the last few months or whatever, they've asked me at least, please give us feedback that as much as I probably should have, obviously. But they've been very good at asking, what do you need? How do you want this defined? And worked with us very well in the process.
As far as questions for me, some of the concerns that I had, Lauren has already alluded to, and that was police, the fact that you don't have a police department yet. This will push us into that process. Obviously, the funding that comes along with it would be in question. So that was a concern. EMS, again, we don't provide EMS, that's for the county, and that's going to be another conversation. The sewer, I was concerned about because I assumed it was going to be an off-site sewer facility of some sort. And you're saying now we're going to be developing over a period of time. It will be a large waste plant facility. As far as initially, it will be
small, what they call package plant.
Yes.
And then probably 2 stages of those.
Okay.
Leading to a more or a permanent plant. Ultimately, I don't know, but that's the way it would occur.
Okay. And then the other question was, how much of the project is in Rockwell County? How much is in Coffee County? 80 acres.
Round numbers, 9 acres in Rockwall, the balance is in Hoffman. 80 acres in Rockwall, the rest is in, the remainder is in Hoffman. So 1,000 in Hoffman, 80 in Rockwall.
I appreciate the fact that you're going to assist us with obtaining water and one way or another, it seems like, in your efforts in that direction. Decertification with High Point, is that problematic for your company?
We don't believe it's problematic. We look at the precedents that have been followed by the PUC for years. The circumstances that we're in are identical, very similar to a number of cases in the last few years where if a particular provider cannot provide water, we file for decertification. Typically that provider, frequently that provider will file a lawsuit against the PUC. That typically gets dismissed by the PUC under reasons that I'll let you read that. I don't try to describe it here, but basically the PUC is in a position that you can't provide the water, the CCN shows that. And since I'm on public record here, and Mr. Steinke has said I was just capturing great pictures in the back of my head. The High Point people have done nothing right. We met with Tyler several times. We're very upfront about it. Went to meetings, several meetings, and they just can't provide the water for the entire project. And so we're very upfront about that whole thing. I don't think they're happy about that. They did file a lawsuit. There was a motion for abatement, which was denied by the PUC, and that's the current status.
Thanks for your honesty and your forthrightness on that. We've had some conversation, this was my last question, but we've had some conversation about sirens, warning sirens for strong activity, that kind of thing in the past year, whether we were going to put some into play in McLendon-Chisholm itself. Is that something, I don't recall having seen that, of that wind song? Is that something that you would, is there?
Yeah, we've got one or two. We have 2.
So you
on the west side of G Road, we work with the director of engineering, named Sheila Webb. The city, the town parcel. I can't call you guys town parcel city. There are 2 high points on the property. We put the sirens there.
So that's feasible to do that with this project, you believe?
I mean, it's actually expected. We're just not to that level of planning yet, but short answer is yes. I think it's very difficult and necessary.
Because you have that high density population that you can alert. And in these communities, people are outside all the time. So there's a lot of activity going on. So it'd be appropriate. Thank you.
One thing I was going to ask about is when the district was first formed, it was a freshwater, is that the right term? Freshwater?
Freshwater supply district.
Yeah,
Not
so,
better freshwater supply district number 1.
so why the transfer then to a mud?
By getting a mud conversion, we were allowed to perform additional road construction and some storm sewer and reimburse the costs. That freshwater supply district would otherwise be. And it's an administrative function at DCE here. So it's an administrative process. I mean, a district is a district. So all it does is add to the list of which you can do, which you can't get reimbursed for, which benefits DCE and ultimately long-term.
I think another thing that's bothering me a little bit is that the way the document reads, it takes the county out of the process. And as far as, and many of these services are done by the county. And I just wonder why you did that in your document or in the document.
Well, we have had meetings with Steve Phillips and Monique at Kaufman County several months ago. Actually. Yeah, we know that we're still subject to the Iowa Code of 1461, which sort of designate interlocal responsibilities. We'll still have to go through Kaufman County for certain things.
And Rockwell too?
There is a separate 1461 with
Yeah,
Rockwell.
yeah. Because those
don't go away with this agreement.
Yeah.
Those still stay close.
Because I don't think they received any documentation from you guys yet. Rockwell County.
They received from us about a year ago our plan.
The plan for development, but not the.
Since then, no. I mean, they're actually in our phase 6. Phase 6 is literally 10 to 12 years down the road. There's so many things we have to put in and kind of talk about that later. We respect that they're there, we're not being worried, and it's just practical speaking. It's talking about.
So I think that another thought, or I know I'll just say it, it just seems to me, I know what the impact is if we don't have a development agreement with you. If we don't do a development agreement with you, then you will develop the area as you see fit. You'll work your water issues as you need to work them. Your sewer will go as it is. And your density will be what you want it to be. Because there's really no difference if you do work with us. I know it may be confusing to the community. You're in the ETJ, so you can build as many houses as you want to in that ETJ. Being in a development agreement, really, this development agreement doesn't stop that. You can still build the density that you wish.
And the plan for development is still governed. What we're trying to show you, and basically is a description of the best and right. So we're trying to show you what the Windsong is. While that might be true, there are others that have done that in places. We're not doing that. We're doing what you saw up there. The right answer for the area is water solution, open space, share amenities. We simplify our lives. We're not doing it just that kind of stuff. We simplify our lives by having a definition of you. You process flats. We're committed to standards. We're funding emergency services that, we can get emergency services somewhere else. But it's better for us to have it the way we propose it in the development agreement, and especially long term. And our view is if the city chooses to go that direction, it helps the city too, because what we help fund isn't just for us. You can spread that to benefit whatever area of the city.
I mean, I don't even know if we're allowed to have a fire substation in Kaufman County. It's not going to be in Rockwell County, it's going to be in Kaufman County.
Correct. Correct. But that's where, let staff, the ETJ
I still feel that it would be prudent to have this discussion with the entire council and feed off more questions. This is just an initial set of questions. As the audience knows, we received this on Friday, so it takes a little bit of time to digest this. And I would personally like to get more people's input on this.
No, and it was meant to get that, and as council has questions, please submit them to me, and I will in turn let the developer know. As I said before, they've been actively, they agree with you. They want to have to address your concerns. I let them know that we were going to have a limited council tonight, and we still want to.
Well, I appreciate that. I really do appreciate that, because I know you have my point of view and that Dan's point of view. You've got Roy, he's brand new to that meeting, so he's getting there.
We have to worry about this.
But quite like you do. You do. So if I could feasibly ask you to come back again in 2 weeks for our next meeting, the 14th.
Yes, we were that was going to be good.
But I really don't want to do, I would suggest to the mayor that we don't want to do a vote at that time. We still have
just like this meeting, you probably will set it as a review action, but if you take no action, that is 100% okay for that. We're trying to work a timeline to get things done with, as we mentioned, that to benefit multiple entities.
I know there's a lot of moving pieces.
So with that in mind, you need to be understanding those, but otherwise you need to feel comfortable about getting through this process.
Well, I also appreciate you guys coming down and talking to us. I know you have your best intentions to make this something good for Rockwell County, for Kaufman County as well. We just have some wrinkles we want to try to smooth out.
We absolutely have the intentions that we've described. And between now and the 14th, if you need us to provide materials, information, be available for the meeting, make a presentation, everything is fine. It's very open.
Okay, we'll talk to the mayor when he gets back. Would it be possible for you to give us these slides so we can hang them on our website?
I don't see why not. We presented in public tonight.
Right.
So.
That way, instead of embedding them into our council minutes, that way we hang on the website, people can review it and potentially ask questions to our city administrator, because he'll be the fielder of all questions. That way it is a centralized thing.
I can't think of why we need it.
Anybody else? All right. Well, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for your time.
All right, number 8, updates, discussion, and direction to staff. Does anybody have any thoughts and direction to staff? All right, council member reports and announcements. Does anybody have any announcements?
Just looking forward to going on to the county consortium.
Yep.
And
so with that, 7:55, we'll adjourn for the evening. Thank you, council.
Oh, right.
Get a little gun blood.
What's that?
Some gun blood.
And
Lucy Davenport, coming in there or whatever. But that was, so anyway, I'll get my questions together.
They were very sensitive, which like I said, were acting and they went ballistic. They went basically fine. When we got the sewer line,
Okay, so the meeting is over. I was outside talking to a few people, and if you want to know why we didn't have a camera that was seeing the speakers tonight, is because Lorna Kibbitt, the acting mayor, refused to allow a camera to be placed along a wall that was unobtrusive. But that's just the way this government works here in McLendon-Chisholm. It's all about denying you the right to hear and see what's happening. But tonight, obviously, you've got a chance to actually capture that, and I hope that it's helpful for you. So please, make sure that you stay involved, and don't forget, the election is coming up in May, and you just might want to vote Bunker Bob for your next city councilman. So we will see you next time. I'll be doing a show all about this development and giving you the lowdown on exactly what's happening, because we learned a lot tonight about what's actually taking place. So we'll see you then.